All right, our next speaker is Patrick Carney, a Staff Sergeant, United States Army. He served our country for 8 years and had 2 tours of duty in Iraq in 2008 and 2009. He served as an infantryman, and unlike most infantrymen, he spent the entire 8 years in a line platoon. Line meaning anywhere but the inside of an office. That's in civilian terms. Over the course of his service, Pat sustained different injuries throughout his body. His left shoulder, however, was the injury that ultimately separated him from the Army. It was not until he left the service that it was discovered that he had a traumatic brain injury and needed many of his joints replaced. Staff Sergeant Carney loved the Army, and he still does. He's quoted as saying, "If I could do it again, I would have seen doctors instead of being hoo-ha and pushing through the pain. But hindsight is 20/20. Please welcome this brave man, Staff Sergeant Patrick Carney.
Oh boy, more people than I thought there was going to be. I'm going to start off with thanking Nick and Peggy. All the volunteers here have been awesome. They've helped me more than on one occasion. Everyone else will talk about how great OFR is, everything they do. They've done it for me, they've done it for my family. I really want to talk about why they do it and what it helps prevent. We as Americans are facing an ignored epidemic. 22 veterans a day take their own lives, and it seems as though the government and general population are ignorant to the fact that there's a simple way to lower this dreadful number. I don't believe any veteran knows why one of their brothers or sisters feels the need to take their own life. But I do know the stresses that veterans face each and every day. If we together hope to combat this epidemic, then hopefully the identification of one very important stressor will be beneficial in starting the fight. The stressor, simply put, is money. Many people say money is the root of all evil, but in the reality, it is the bright light at the end of the tunnel for most. However, today we are speaking about veterans. And for us, it can mean the difference between life and death. All veterans grew up in the military. It's a slang we use for gaining rank and maturity. We all had our lives set for us. The vast majority of the people in the United States, 98% actually, because only around 2% serve, get out of high school, go to college, or learn a trade. And then they begin their lives. For military personnel, we leave high school, college, or a trade to write a blank check that is written out to those 98%. And that check is valued up to and including our lives. Consequently, while in service, our lives are worth $400,000, more money. But that money can never replace the hero who was lost, but it can care for the family that they left behind. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the military doesn't prepare you for civilian jobs, but in many cases it does. But if it prepared every single veteran, at my college there wouldn't be 534 veterans attending. We attend school because we want to make more money. We want to live the lives that our peers have that we left behind. Unfortunately, that journey doesn't go as smoothly as most uninformed people want to believe. I personally know a veteran that has 3 jobs in order to make ends meet, and she serves in the National Guard. Yeah, I know what most are thinking. What about the GI Bill? Well, the GI Bill helps immensely when you have minimal debt, minimal post-traumatic stress, physical ability to work, and extra time to have a job. Attending college, however, is a full-time job, and by adding a paid job to the equation, stress begins to add up. Not to mention that the veteran has some kind of severe disability. For instance, if you're to look up when an infantryman is qualified to do work upon exiting the military, you'll most likely find police, security guard, fireman, or a private contractor. All of these jobs are extremely respectful and honorable, but for someone like me, as injured as I am, it's probably not a good idea for employment. I also know I'm not the only veteran in this position or a close proximity of it. Would you qualify for compensation through Veterans Affairs? Well, let's be honest. It takes upwards of a year for a claim to go in, see doctors, get diagnosed, and then hope that you qualify. If you don't qualify, you spend another year fighting the VA in the appeals process and takes the fight right out of you. So, to recap, we have a 21 to 30-year-old veteran who's gone from the tip of the sword to maybe its hilt. But what are we in dire need of is a sheath. A sheath that allows us to vent our growing stress from work, school, and not cost us this month's rent. Something as simple as a trip to go golfing, to Six Flags, or a weekend away from everyday life. Could mean the difference between a successful member of civilian society or a statistic. We've been fighting our nation's enemies for 14 years, and when we come home, we receive another beating from life. Because our sacrifice is only appreciated by you wonderful few, but overlooked by those who can really make a difference. I and all the veterans here thank you for coming today, and thank you for your service to us. It is only together that we'll be able to succeed, because I'm tired of losing my friends and I hate the number 22. Thanks.